Today we're chatting with a high-level recovery coach on how she uses the law of attraction in her life, how she helps others through their recovery, and how you can apply her perspective on both in your own life and on your own law of attraction journey. You definitely don't want to miss today's feature interview. This is the law of attraction like you've never heard it before. Hey everyone, Andrew here, otherwise known as that guy who wrote the last law of attraction book you'll ever need to read. And I've been waiting to get interviews going back on the channel for a while, and I'm not going to just have anybody on the channel just to get interviews. I'm very picky, which is why I'm so excited to be bringing another interview to you today. And I'm going to give the quick intro because I think when you hear her speak and you see her perspective, a lot of what she says is going to speak for itself. But Ellen Stewart is the host of Recovery Recharged, and she's known as the Pushy broad from the Bronx. She's also a certified life coach and certified recovery coach, and she's just awesome. I mean, that's like my introduction because I really want to like dive in for this. And she does so many awesome things. She helps people in so many different ways. So without any further ado, Ellen Stewart, thank you so much for being here and welcome to my YouTube channel.
Andrew, it's so nice to be here. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to be present today and enjoy some great conversation with you as always.
Awesome. And it's funny. Me being the host, this is my thing, but I get to lean on you, and you've got experience in terms of broadcasting, in terms of putting message out there, which again is one of the reasons why I'm so excited to have you on today, because we're going to be talking about a lot of things. First of all, we're going to talk about what you do in case there are people out there who can really be served by you. But we're also going to be talking about what you've enjoyed through the law of attraction. And then we're going to talk about your specific approach towards it in the hopes that anyone that's looking for inspiration or guidance or another perspective on how to do it will be able to lean on that and really glean insight from not only your approach, but the clean, efficient way in which you communicate it. So with that said, let's try to be a little organized here. First, like when you say that you're a certified life coach, you're a certified recovery coach, what does that entail specifically?
Well, thanks very much for asking. I have been in the behavioral health field now for about 17 years, and my capacity was to help bring addicts and alcoholics to treatment for the most part. And then about 10 years ago, I realized that when they came out of treatment, that's when the real work began. And I decided that they really needed some extra push and some extra help. And also, I knew what they were going through because I'm in recovery myself. And I talk about that on my show, on my live radio show, Recovery Recharged. I have 36 years in recovery. So I understood that when you come out of treatment, you really need some guidance. You really need some help. So I decided to go back to school and become a certified empowerment coach with a specialty in recovery. And then since then, in the past 10 years, I take on clients one on one and help them navigate being clean and sober and what that actually means to the rest of their lives.
Hmm.
In addition to working with addicts and alcoholics, I also worked with loved ones of people that are in recovery because they need a lot of education, they need a lot of understanding, and they need to know how to better communicate with their loved ones who are beginning to learn how to change their lives.
Very
So
interesting.
that's why it was so important to me, and your book is so important to me. And I know that we're going to talk about this a little bit later. But because this work is really my calling, my life's calling, I initiated a live radio show on Transformation Talk Radio, and for the longest time was the only recovery show on Transformation Talk Radio. I know there are one or two now, but I host that show once a month with Dr. Pat Basili, who is the owner of the network and Transformation Talk Radio, and it goes live on KKNW Radio and all podcast platforms. So you can catch that show the second Wednesday of every month, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. And I've had the pleasure of hosting you on that show, which is really great. And we're going to do it again right before Christmas. And I'm very excited for that to happen.
Yeah, I
It
can't wait.
Me too. And then lastly, of course, I've been in private practice for the past 11 years and I deal with clients one on one. And I'm doing something special, especially for the holidays and kind of post COVID and in the middle of COVID. So you can go to pushybroadfromthebronx.com. You can make a free appointment for a free session with me. It says COVID stress relief, but you can make a free session appointment with me, or you can call my 800 number, which is 800 889 1757. And I will absolutely give you a complimentary session and then see if you need to go from there. So
Awesome.
that's who I am and what I do.
Awesome. Now, the thing that excites me about having this conversation right now is because I think it's really important for people to listen and understand like what they can glean from someone like you. We're talking about decades of in recovery, meaning there's an insight of the ebb and the flow, the ups and the downs, the twists and the turns that you don't get in the first year. Like, the fact that you understand the experience of working with family and things of that nature. And the reason selfishly that this is so, big for me or important for me having you on here is because from my perspective, and I invite you to let me know if you disagree, but I mean, there's a key aspect of habit, of consistency, of keeping your mindset in the right direction, which so easily and so seamlessly blends into a law of attraction practice in terms of my thing of, hey, just 5 minutes a day. It's all about having an insight into yourself, an insight to human nature, an insight into human psychology when challenged in recovery or any other aspect of what might be going on. And having that in as a context or as a background when you're saying, okay, how can I use my understanding of people in general and of myself and how I respond to my advantage, whether it's in recovery, whether it's doing law of attraction, whether it's a health or fitness routine or any other endeavor in life. That's why I'm so excited. And that's why um, I want to get to, things, fun results that you can kind of point out specifically through law of attraction. But then after that, just to hear your perspective on how you went about it, because this isn't, not to build you up on a pedestal, but this is a perfect example of someone who understands human nature, using that to their advantage, implementing it in a very seamless, easy way that has yielded results. So before getting there, just to tease the audience more, I'm curious, like, again, don't not even crediting my book, but just crediting your use of law of attraction. Since you've discovered this content, what have you noticed in your life that you can really point to that there's been an improvement or a shift or a change in some way?
Well, you've asked me 100 questions, and I'm going to try to take them one at a time. First of all, it's so interesting to me, and the reason why I was so attracted to this book is because part of what you said, addiction can have positive and negative connotations. Law of attraction, as far as I'm concerned, has everything to do with consistency and habit, as you mentioned. So, addiction, of course, is a negative habit. It's something that we want to get away from. But in order to do that, and in recovery, we learn that we need to replace bad habits with good habits, which is exactly why this fits. Okay.
Mm,
It's the understanding that positive energy attracts positive energy as opposed to the negative energy that we had before when we were in active addiction. That negative attraction attracted negative energy. But because we understand that there is always hope for a new beginning, because in recovery we understand that there is a willingness to get better, and we also understand that it is predicated on one day at a time, which is exactly what your book teaches, believe it or not, it is easy to comply with your methods because you're not asking for anything more than attending to them little by little, one day at a time.
mm, I
So
love
that's a
that.
really big thing. But I want to go back a little bit because I want to give your listeners an idea of what attracted me to what you are doing and how it came to pass, because it's a very personal story. And you talk about your personal story. You've talked about it to me, you've talked about it on the air, and you've also talked about it in the book. And I have a personal story that I would really like to share, and
Please.
maybe it will help some of your readers. I have clients that are all over the country and all over the world, and my work is done virtually so that I'm available to anybody. You don't have to be in front of me to get the benefits of what I do. But last February, this past February in 2021, which is when you and I actually met, I went back and I looked to see how long we know each other. One of my clients introduced me to your book.
Mm.
And I was not, I'm certainly very much aware of the law of attraction, and I've been aware of it for some time, and the power of affirmations and the power of positive thinking. But I first got this book from a client that I really respected because she's done some really great work and she's really grown a great deal. So the first time I saw the last law of attraction book you'll ever need to read, the first thing I thought of was, wow, what an egotistical title
Mm.
by somebody that really is very full of himself. How could this possibly be the last law of attraction book I'll ever need to read? I mean, that just seems way too far out. But I think that I was a little bit in a desperate situation because, as you know, we always go through hills and valleys. Even as a recovering addict, there are times that you feel down on yourself, you feel that you don't have what it takes, you feel that you're not where you're supposed to be, and maybe there's just a general feeling of unhappiness or malaise. And that's basically what I was going through. And I really needed a boost, and I needed it in a brand new way. So I'm always open to the universe and the possibilities of the universe. And when I put out there that I need those kinds of vibrations, my client provided me with his book.
Mm.
So I got past the title and decided that I would embrace this almost as a lifeline because I was really feeling a little down. And so I decided to go a little further. I decided to start to read the book, and then I decided to get it in Audible because I like to hear it. And your words are very inspiring, and the way you tell the story is very inspiring. And then at the end of the book, I had a question. I just had a question, and I emailed you with that question, and you answered me right away, which I found to be completely amazing. And then from there, we began this relationship. But I want you to know that it was so different for me to just take that one step and follow through. But even better, knowing that there actually was someone at the end of this book, a real person at the end of this book. And that's the thing that I want your listeners to know,
Thank
that
you.
Andrew's a real person with real feelings that is really dedicated to what you're doing. And I see this in many ways, like I do, as your calling. Don't you think that's part of how you feel about how you wrote this book?
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny. I knew that the title itself was going to get a lot of reactions, and I told myself, well, here's the thing. If this thing doesn't live up to what it should, it's actually a poor business choice because it's going to get killed in reviews. So it wasn't just a bold promise. It was a challenge to myself, and it's something that I really want to meet to live to. And I appreciate your acknowledgement about the reply on email because author, all authors are different, but I think there is a common understanding or assumption about authors that they're too busy to reply to people, which is often the case. But knowing the content of this book and knowing what it was, I'm very intentional about not being that person. And I don't know how long I'll be able to hold that up to this day. I mean, it's 80,000 copies in. I'm still replying to people and I'm going to keep doing it. But it is very important to me. So thank you for the acknowledgement that people know. I mean, ideally, they should have as few questions as possible just because I've done my job with the book, but also they should know if there's something there lingering for whatever reason, they can reach out and get a response. So I'm grateful that it connected and that I was there to kind of add that cherry on the top of the sundae in terms of a positive reader experience for you.
Well, it was not only a positive experience in that way, but understanding and grasping what you have to offer here is why I almost it's almost like a textbook for me to use with my clients. And that's the amazing thing. I don't think there's a client that I have worked with since that I haven't recommended this book. And I've gotten really great feedback because of it. So it's kind of it's kind of like required reading if you're going to work with Ellen Stewart recovery coach. And I think part of that is I always bill myself as a recovery coach that is part cheerleader and part drill sergeant, which I think is indicative of my Pushy Broad from the Bronx brand, because I am not afraid to stand up for what I believe in. I'm not afraid to tell you, look, this is what may work for you and whatever. I don't beat around the bush, and I'm very forthcoming and very straightforward, which is very much how you address everybody on YouTube, all of the work that you do, and the book itself. And also, what attracted me more than even your writing was the fact that you narrated your own book, and the tone of your voice and the way you speak to people is something that I consider a great gift and is highly motivating. So I'm sure that your followers and your listeners are finding the same thing. So I not only had the written material in front of me, but when you hear Andrew speak, it really makes you get up off the couch, Andrew. I'm telling you,
Thank you.
it's really a great thing.
Thank you. It's a quick funny story. I know it's not read like a typical audiobook, and part of that was because for me, I couldn't keep the slow rhythm that is normally in an audiobook when I was reading the content. It felt there was too much of a pull, so I just like went into it. So sometimes I'll be a little loud and a little fast, but it's really cool that people have responded. So they for whatever reason that presentation was perfect for the listener. So thank you for that confirmation. It's always good to hear.
Well, it always helps when the author is narrating their own work. I mean, it
Mm,
really, there's nothing better than that. And you narrate in a very unapologetic fashion. And that's great because you really do stand behind what you're talking about. It almost gives, for me, it gave me no choice. It really gave me
nice.
no choice. It was, all right, you're either going to do this or you're going to complain about not doing it. You know what I mean? You're going to complain. So stop complaining, get to this, make it in a way that works for you and get on with it. And that's exactly how I coach, which is how this resonated with me so well,
Mm,
especially with all of the options that you give. And I truly do believe that this is probably the last law of attraction book I will ever need to read, because there are so many different ways to go about this that say the same thing. You know, there are lots of people that turn around to me and say, what you're saying isn't new, and I've heard this all before, and I'm sure you've gotten that stuff, you know, from everybody. And we've heard variations of all of this from Wayne Dwyer, from Jay Shetty, from Deepak Chopra, all of the, you know, some of the idols that are at least the idols in my life. And when people say that to me, when I coach them as well, I turn around and I say to them, why do you think that is? Why do you think that other people that maybe you admire are saying the same thing? I mean, there's some validity just in that. You know, people like Brene Brown and all the others I've mentioned, and it becomes a situation where you can walk away from what everybody else is saying, or you can turn around and see that the reason people are saying it is because it works and because it
mm,
has merit.
mm. So we're in a flow here, and it's funny. I was first going to ask you about results, but I think this is a perfect segue because I'm sure people are really curious. How did you implement this content for yourself? What choices and decisions did you make on a daily basis?
Well, I'll tell you, when you say choices and decisions, it kind of goes back to my mission statement. Um, I've done a lot of work on myself, and I've tried over the years to do that, really being in recovery. My personal mission, believe it or not, is something that I wrote down and that I live by, and I try to live by, which is to educate, empower, and inspire hope in people so that they realize that they're not stuck and that change is possible.
Mm.
So that's what I seem to try to do on a daily basis, because I realize that when I'm down that rabbit hole, I have to say to myself, there is always hope. Okay. Because without hope, I believe that we're lost. So, hope is something that happens in recovery, and hope is coupled with the fact that change is good.
Hmm.
People are afraid of change. They don't like change, but that's just it, that just doesn't make sense. Everything we do requires change. And if change isn't possible and change isn't good, then every single addict would still be active. Okay?
Hmm.
The fact that there are addicts in recovery means change is good. Things happen in a good way. So when I was feeling kind of down and I started to read your book, I started to understand, first of all, how can I absorb it the best way I can? How can I hold on to this and really embrace it and not make this a quick thing where I'll do this for a moment? You know, like at the beginning of the new year, you turn around and say, I'm going to go on this bad diet, or I'm going to get that exercise bike, or I'm going to join a yoga class, or blah, 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 blah. And then by February, we're finished. I needed this to be self sustaining. And the way I needed it to be self sustaining is basically from your example. Number one, don't make this a big thing. Make this a little thing. Make this consistently a short amount of time every single day. And the most important message that you give is make this fun, because if it
Hmm.
isn't fun, you're not going to do it. So, with those things in mind, I decided that number one, the way I learn is not only to read the information, but to hear it, because I'm an audio learner. So, hearing you in my head helped tremendously. Number two, to set aside time every single day to do one method that I can do easily that doesn't take anything away from my time.
Mm.
So I decided to use my Alexa and remind myself every morning at 9 a.m. to do my gratitude list.
Nice.
And sometimes I forget. I mean, there's no question. Sometimes I forget. But if I have Alexa reminding me every morning, I'm like, oh my God, I have to do my gratitude list. And I spend 5 or 10 minutes just being grateful for everything that's around me, just like you said, not really caring. I'm grateful that I woke up today. I'm grateful that I have a smile on my face. I'm grateful that I'm in warm, fuzzy pajamas. I'm grateful that I have a lot of great clients today. Whatever it is. And the other thing I've learned is I need to get that message out to the universe, which means the most powerful affirmations that we can do and the most powerful gratitude that I think I can do is to say it out loud.
Mm.
There's a very definite process of delivering it to the universe, because two things happen when we say things out loud. The first is that we get to hear them ourselves rather than what's in our subconscious mind. I get to hear my voice saying these things. And the second part of it is I get to deliver it out to the universe. So it's not just in my head, but it's out to the energy of the universe. And every single time that I do that, something flips in my brain.
Mm.
Things change. Things become different. They become better. The law of attraction means the universe will spin in the direction you need it to go, because you're putting out vibrations into that universe by speaking your gratitude and speaking your wishes out loud.
That's awesome. So I'm going to get a little granular here. I'm curious, like, as you're talking about the things you're grateful for, are you staying with things in the present? Are you including things from the past? Are you pulling in things from the future? What is your specific approach in terms of the list that you're making?
Well, I'm a very big believer in your time lapse method, and
Mm.
you know that better than anything else. I talk about the stuff that has been in my past, the stuff that's in my present, and the stuff that's in my future, as if it's in my present.
Awesome.
So that's kind of where I go. Um, I can tell you that it's the easiest for me to do, so I do it.
Hmm.
And it is the quickest change to my mindset. And it goes with my own personal mantra that I'm not stuck, that I always have options, that I'm stuck if I have my brain just kind of up against a brick wall, that I don't want to change the way I think about something. I always have the opportunity to change the way I think about something, and I can reprogram my brain to change the way I think about something. And that's exactly what your book shows me how to do in a myriad of ways. Okay, not
Awesome.
only with the gratitude list and the scripting and the visualization. I mean, there are a million different ways, but it gets me out of myself and out of that dark web that we sometimes weave, that we're never going to change things and things are always going to be the way they were, when that's not true. Not true at all.
Mm. Awesome. So you're having Alexa tell you every morning that it's time to do your gratitude list. It sounds like some or most of the time you're doing it in the context of a time lapse method, that style. And are you writing it down first? Are you typing it first and then saying it out loud, or is it just coming to you in your mind? You're saying, like, what's your specific approach?
I'll tell you, my specific approach is just to talk out loud. Okay, so I'm a born
Mm,
and raised Bronx girl. Nobody looked at me twice if I was talking out loud. Okay, I lived on the streets of Manhattan. Everybody talks out loud, so it was very easy for me to just start talking, and I know that I accomplish it. And by getting it out there, I actually do a brain shift. So no matter how I feel, I'm much more wide awake. I can say things like, "I'm so grateful for the fact that I have a lot of energy today, even though it may be the first thing in the morning. I am so grateful for the fact that I feel wide awake. I am so grateful for the fact that I'm enjoying another beautiful day, even if it's a downpour of rain." I really want to set the stage for all positive things to come my way.
mm,
If I have more time and I'm doing other things or I'm feeling particularly down, I do find that your scripting method has the most magical power.
mm. And you handwrite or you type that?
I don't handwrite anything anymore
Hmm.
because I type very quickly. And I did do that a couple of months back because I was waiting for a major court case to settle. I was waiting for some things to come to the horizon. I really wanted some things to come to fruition faster than they were coming. I did a tremendous amount of scripting. I would say, I don't know which method it was, but writing down 20 or 25 things that I really wanted to come to fruition and I was really adamant about. And I scripted them and I read them out loud again. I do so believe in the power of reading things out loud to the universe. It really, really works. All of you out there, please do it. It absolutely works. And that scripting method came to fruition. And within 3 months' time, things that I never thought were possible started happening, and things that I
Okay.
didn't even expect would happen
So I want to get to
happened.
that. Before I get there, I just want to do one quick clarification because I definitely want to dive into that. Before we do that, though, just for clarity here, because you being who you are, you're organized, you're on top of things. I don't know if methodical is the right word, although, like, you seem methodical. Like you're very, you know what you want, you know how you're going to get it, and you go about it in this way. Now, with that said, you're taking my methods and you're taking how I wrote them out to the letter, but you're not keeping yourself obligated to follow that way. You're doing it in a way. So here we have a person who is organized and methodical, being loose about this. This is what I want to emphasize for the audience, and I want to invite you to let me know if I'm misrepresenting. But you are someone who is really organized and really on it, but you're giving yourself the freedom and the flexibility to be like, listen, even though Andrew said one option is to actually write it out before reading it, I don't have to do that. I can just do the time lapse in the flow. And either way works depending on who I am as a person. So you've been methodical and organized in that you make sure that Alexa reminds you. But once you've got that reminder, you've done that part that's been taken care of. Now you're like, okay, I'm going to experiment. I'm going to be in a loose flow of this. I'm going to follow the methods, but really this is about feeling good while thinking about what I have or what I want or both. So I just wanted to emphasize that for the audience. Again, for someone like you who knows her stuff and not only knows her stuff, but helps other people who need to get their stuff together, you are choosing this approach. You're choosing to be organized and making sure you're setting the conditions that you need for you. You're getting that reminder because you know for you that works, but you're also giving a loose flow. And there's also flexibility in some days if there's time, you'll script, but you don't have to handwrite it, you can type it. You're choosing to speak it aloud because you know for you that makes an impression. Not only do I agree wholeheartedly that that makes an impression, but even if I didn't, the fact that you believe it and understand that amplifies the power of it. So everything is working on all cylinders for what you're doing. I just wanted to highlight that for the audience. But with that said, assuming that I didn't misrepresent you in any way, what are some of those awesome things that happened in 3 short months for you?
Well, you're absolutely right. I try to have a consistency to my methods, and I always try to practice what I preach. But being in recovery, understanding that I have the power to change my existence as long as I realize that I can do this on a daily basis.
Mm,
And one thing we learn in recovery is one day at a time. So that's basically why I have Alexa remind me, because sometimes I forget that I have to be grateful. It's very difficult sometimes for us to say, I need to be grateful for the things that are around us. You know, the stop and smelling the roses kind of thing.
yeah.
What's around me? What can I be grateful for? And as long as this one little thing reminds me, it's up to you now to make that impression. And then the rest, like you said, is up to me.
Mm,
For instance, I always want to be able to help more people, and more people get to know me and to find me. And I simply was so grateful for the fact that coaching clients were coming to me from all over the world, and just being available so that I can help them. And the more I'm grateful for that, the more clients come to me. They
mm,
just do. I haven't done anything more. I mean, it's not like I have a lot of followers on YouTube, and you can follow me on YouTube, Pushy Broad from the Bronx. It's really easy. You can go do that. I mean, I certainly don't have 80,000 followers, but people are finding me through all different ways. Not only because my clients are recommending me, not only through my website, not only through the Recovery Recharge Show, but I am not doing any more when it comes to advertising or marketing. In fact, I had teams that I let go. I
mm.
let go. So I'm actually doing a little bit less, but I'm feeling differently about it, and I'm feeling more grateful around it. And as a consequence, people are attracted more. So
Mm.
I have more clients now than I've ever had before. And that is wonderful because I get to help people on a daily basis doing something that is very near and dear to my heart. So that's
So
one thing.
that's great, I'm sure, for business people to hear. Like they're great.
Yes,
Like when they're
yes,
grateful and they're looking for
exactly.
clients, they're looking for customers. Real quick aside, because I want to hear more about you. But one of my methods, like I do, is I leave a recorded message every day, the things I'm grateful for, and I send it to my friend every day. Among all the things I do, I'm grateful for my readers and my customers. Not one day goes by that is not on the list. So we're both on the same page. So we're being grateful for the people that we want to serve, and the people that we want to serve effortlessly flow to us. What other awesome things did you experience?
Well, quite honestly, I was in the middle of a court case that I thought would never come to fruition, especially during COVID. I had to wait. I mean, it's been 2.5 years, and it was just one of those things where it was tiresome and tedious. And through positive affirmations, and through I forget which scripting method it was, but one of the most powerful things you say in this book is that when you go through your visualization or gratitude or scripting, you need to look at an outcome that will be beneficial to all parties. I
Hmm.
remember you saying that in the book. If you look towards the gratitude of knowing that whatever outcome is coming will be beneficial to all parties, then you have a greater chance of that outcome occurring, or something like that. But that was really impressionable to me. So instead of just thinking, I want to win this case, and I want to win this case, and I want to win this case, and I want, which means there's a winner and a loser situation, after going through your book and realizing, why can't everybody win? What's
Hmm.
wrong with everybody winning? And that's something that really stood out for me. And I don't remember which method it is, because Andrew, what do you have, like 150 methods here? So I don't remember which one it was, but
I
it was
think
very
ironically,
impressionable.
that was the cooperation creator method, which I that
There
not
we
even in the
go.
book. That's like one of the that was one of those methods that it's so weird because I put 19 or 20 really solid methods. I was so intentional about the book having a certain flow to it. There was certain things that turned into bonuses and things like that instead. That one I specifically remember. I mean, I probably still mentioned it in the book, but cooperation creator method has a real emphasis on that.
It really, really does. And when I started to visualize a win win situation for both parties, The court case came on the docket within the month. I kid you not. It's like sprinkling magic dust, and I know that this is no BS because the pushy bird from the Bronx doesn't know how to BS. I just know how to tell it straight like it is, and came out well beyond my expectations and still managed everybody to have a win-win situation.
Hmm.
So that was absolutely incredible. And then there were other monetary aspects that came about just completely out of the blue that I didn't even think about or wish for or hope. Not at all. I mean, they just came to fruition in terrific ways. But more than anything else, I know that people want law of attraction because they want that pot of gold or they want to win the lottery or they want all the business to happen in their direction and all that kind of stuff, all these material things. More than anything else, it got me out of such a funk and such a kind of temporary depression that it really lifted my spirits. And I know that you and I talked about this just the other day, but on this very famous TV show on Grey's Anatomy the other day, the beginning sentences were that science has published studies about how the practice of gratitude improves mental and physical health. Okay,
Hmm.
that alone, just practicing gratitude or just visualizing positive things happening in the universe really does retrain your brain.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can list all of the specific material things, but it doesn't compare to the mental lift and spiritual lift that that the law of attraction brings.
That's
It,
wonderful.
it
So
pales in
for
comparison.
lack yeah, for lack of a better term, I mean, we're talking about a holistic improvement. We're talking about everything improving in different ways, them complementing one another in with different ways. Because first of all, I think anyone that's been through a court case and they know how long things drag out, and then there's legal fees and this and that. I think anyone can appreciate that when something like that gets resolved, not only is that a wonderful relief and weight off the person's shoulders in the moment, but that in turn creates more of a loose, abundant energy to invite those other monetary things, those other successes. So wins breed other wins, lead into other wins just through those different pieces through it. And that's what I've noticed in my life. And I think people that can really lean in my humble opinion, they could really lean in excuse me, and not have a fixed attachment or a fixed requirement, but just have an open-ended invitation. I mean, be specific in their visualizations, be specific in their scripting, but also have an open-ended invitation to the universe. Do it in your time and your way, because you probably can do it better and faster. That opens up the floodgates open and things just improve. And it's just one of those things where there is a real momentum that you sense to it. And like I preach to people, once you experience that for yourself in your life, you're forever changed. No one can ever take your life experience of that kind of improvement away from you. And that's, by the way, why I was so brash and bold to call it the last law of attraction book you'll ever need to read, because technically the whole point of the book is to give people the space and the container and the bandwidth and whatever they need in order to do the methods long enough to get a result. And then since that can't be taken away from them, they can read another book, but they'll never need another book. So that was kind of like the goal. And that's why I love hearing stuff like from you, because you technically, I mean, I'm glad you enjoyed and listened to it, but you technically don't need it anymore because you know it. And now you're implementing it. So you have everything that you need.
That's true. But I can tell you that it's always out on my
Oh, hey, awesome.
countertop.
I won't complain one
It's
bit.
always there. I always like to go over certain things and remember certain things and apply certain things. Um, and one of the biggest things that we learn in recovery is, like you said before, very simple: be open and willing.
Hmm.
Just be open and willing, realizing that I don't have all the answers, right? And neither do you. You don't have all the answers, but what you have are a set of tools to attain the answers that we need on a regular basis. And that's kind of what I want to impart on your listeners today. Andrew doesn't tell you that this is magic and that you're going to get everything you want from this. It's Andrew is giving you the tools to know that you are not stuck. that you can effectively change your life, but it's not up to Andrew to make those changes. You can turn around and say that you are responsible for the change in your life. And if you follow the methods and you embrace it for your own, and you embellish it in your own way, and no matter what, you understand that being open and willing means positive energy, means not being closed or negative, and just do a couple of little things every single day, you will not be able to deny that things are changing for you.
Hmm.
There is just no way that this does not work. And if it doesn't work for you, then you have to ask yourself, are you really open and willing?
Hmm. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. I know we're almost out of time here, and I know you had brought it up earlier in the interview, but just I'll be putting it in the description anyway as well. If we can get the website and that phone number one more time in case anyone wants to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to connect?
Of course, it's Pushy Broad from the Bronx.com, 800-889-1757. Please take advantage of this. Please take advantage of a free session, especially around the holidays, especially around the beginning of the new year. This is the time. You are not stuck. And I would love to be able to talk to you, reach out, and start the new year right. And thank you so much, Andrew. I really
Awesome.
appreciate our time together.
Yes, and now I would hope and assume we've already served the law of attraction readers really well. With the last question here, just in case, is there anything that you're inspired to share with anyone out there right now who's going through recovery that you think they might want to hear that might benefit them? What would you normally say in that situation?
Well, I would normally say that change is good, as we had said before, that you are not stuck, that there are ways to turn things around, and there are different tools that you learn either through me or through readings and through different situations that make it always hopeful. There is always hope. And one of the ways to do that is to pick up Andrew's book, The Last Law of Attraction book you'll ever need to read, and see how you can change your life one day at a time.
You know, the really awesome broad from the Bronx is a little bit of a tongue twister, so I'm glad you settled for pushy broad from the Bronx, but I think both apply. And I'm just so grateful that for our conversations, I know we've got one coming up on your show, late December, but really I'm just grateful for you taking time out. And I would hope people can really understand the care with which you approach your calling and how important it is to you and that you're serving people and that you're helping people. So just, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your wisdom and your insight with my viewers.
Thank you so much, Andrew. And please catch me and Andrew on Transformation Talk Radio, December 22nd, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Radio, transformationtalkradio.com. Thanks, Andrew. As always, have a great holiday season.